Hi there, we are the Gratitude Girls.
Good evening, good morning, good afternoon to everyone. Hi, Laurie. How are you?
I am wonderful. How are you?
I'm great. I've been following you all week. You're hard to keep up with, boy. You're quite the traveler this week. I'm so happy that you settled down to be with us.
Yes, I have been having some fun this month. But yes, back home for a few days anyway.
Well, it's a special month for you because it's your birthday month. And what kind of friend would I be if I didn't say that we should all celebrate each other and we should celebrate you for your birthday? I know it's not today, but for anybody who's watching or tuning in later, this is a really special, special year for Laurie. And just tell us real quickly where you went, and then maybe we'll open the show with some of our history. But I think it's great that you treated yourself and did something so awesome this week.
Yeah, so I went with 6 girlfriends, did a girls trip, and I went to Tampa for a day, and then we hopped on a cruise ship, and our ports were Key West and Cozumel, and it was a 6-day trip. So I was actually gone 7.5 days. So it was really wonderful. Lots of fun and no business, just friends and fun.
Well, you look fantastic. You always do. You look really fantastic. And I'm going to go back and look at your pictures again. You know, there's something to say about unplugging, about recharging, something to say about really taking that time away from the things that we're devoted and committed to. There's no question about that. But, you know, everybody needs to take the focus back by going inward and you know, looking up at the sky and looking at the clouds. And I'm certain that it's way better for us to do that than not to do it and face the alternative of being burnt out. And we have a really awesome person on our show tonight that we could talk a little bit more about that. So thank you for sharing. And I love your travels, and it's really awesome that you are showing the world truly what to do and how you do it. So thank you for that. So, Laurie, you know, it's always great to tell our guest about what's going on with us. I'm sitting here in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. I'm really excited to be in the same place here. I truly love where we are. I'm a New Yorker, in case that accent somehow flies out as it gets late or I start to talk fast. You can hear it. But let's tell a little bit about where you're from right now, or where you're from. Maybe you want to tell us something that we don't know about you.
Yeah, so I was born in Chicago, raised in Houston, and now the last 30 years I've been outside Nashville, Tennessee. And I love it. Love living in the sticks. Most of my neighbors are cows or deers. So
I don't think we ever shared that you were born in Chicago and lived in Houston. That's kind of a nice detail to know. So I was born in Brooklyn. I was raised in Long Island. You'll hear that. And moved to Canada. That's a big move for a New Yorker, right? Over 30 years ago. So, Laurie, you know, it's really amazing. You were born in Chicago. I was born in Brooklyn. Who would have thought that we would meet in Salt Lake City, Utah? So I always like to go over this in my mind's eye, because I relive the moment. Some of our guests know nothing about us and how we met and why we do this and, you know, how did this all come about. And to this day, years later, people still ask me, like, why did you do that? How did that happen? That's so cool. And it just seems like part of my life now. There is no way I can think of a month, a day, a week without being a gratitude girl. So would you be kind enough to share with us, oh, there's your puppy, to share with us and our guests and our guests tonight, what are we doing here? Like, how did this all come about? Why are we gratitude girls? Did someone crown us?
yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I actually told our story twice today with 2 different people that I was meeting with. And so same thing. I love telling our story, and people ask me all the time, you know, how did that happen? You know, your partner's in Canada, you know, and so Kathryn and I actually met on stage in front of thousands of people. And so both of us are in a direct sales company called Send Out Cards. So we get to send out and share and send out gratitude and kindness and happiness to the world. And then we also teach and share with people how to build their business with keeping in touch with customers and clients and building relationships. So every year there's a kind of like a theme for the company, and one person wins that like award for the year. But one year, our CEO called up Kathryn, and she was the winner for this year, and our theme was gratitude. And then he said, but this year it's something different, and we have a tie. And so you're selected through all your peers. Our CEO doesn't pick you. It's through all the peers of all the customers and distributors and referral partners and everybody who sends in who they think should be the winner of that theme. And so, so through hundreds of thousands of people, Kathryn and I were both chosen. And so we actually met on stage together. We didn't know each other before that. And just kind of after that, within like literally 2 to 3 minutes, Kathryn and I both we had that feeling of, you know, how when you just meet somebody, you know it's right, right? So like a lot of people do that in dating or whatever, and they're like, oh, I know it was right. And so that's how we were. We were like, we knew that we were destined to do something together and something huge. And just within like 2 to 3 minutes, Gratitude Girls was born. And now here we are 6 years later.
Hey, Laurie, you know what came to mind? Thank you for explaining the story like that. It came to mind like when you said in couples, gratitude at first sight. Because when we saw each other, we truly had, and still do, this amazing connection, and something had to happen. I remember walking down the steps. I remember holding your hand when we went down the steps. I remember sitting next to you. I remember thinking when you were walking up, when your name was called, I remember my knees were shaking and my name was called, all of that. And it feels so good to remember it all. And this is something I'd like to say to our audience. If you have something awesome that happened and you keep it to yourself, it's not going to have the life that Laurie and I have with that moment. We relive it all the time, especially here on the show, because it brings us back to that high vibration. It is a healthy thing for us to do. And we get to be in that zone psychologically, spiritually, emotionally. So when we start our show, it's our exercise to go right to the moment where we met and bring that, really it's an edification of what happened to us both. And if you do have something in your life that was really awesome, don't keep it to yourself. Share it with the world, share it with as many people as you can, and put it out there. I'd love to hear about it. And whenever you do share that part of me, whenever you do share that, Laurie, you know, I get really excited about it because I think someone else is going to hear about this, and maybe someone else will act on someone that they see and say, hey, let's get together and do something. And this happens in our life, and often it happens with the people that we're surrounded with, and is very much so with the person that we have on as a guest tonight. So I would like to take this opportunity to segue into fantastic meetings and meeting someone and feeling something. So perhaps we have a gratitude vibe. You know, there must be something else out here for us. Our audience maybe should listen to some of the things that we keep dropping the hints, but there is definitely, you know, gratitude at first sight and a gratitude vibe. And we feel this and we bring it into the room when we are together and when we are apart. So the guest that we have on tonight, he's also a really electric, a high vibration, a great man to know. So Henry Hernandez is our guest, and Henry will tell you a little bit about what part of the world he's in. I don't want to give it away just in case you like suspense, so we'll give you some. But what I'd like to say is that I met Henry, and I knew when I first met him that I truly wanted to do something fun with him because I understood and do understand his business. So maybe I'll let you talk a little bit about that, Henry, about that first, you know, moment and how that felt for you. Thank you so much for being on Gratitude Girls tonight. We're really thrilled that you're here. So I feel like I should sit up straight because you're a personal trainer, and I don't want you to make any judgment calls on me. So welcome, welcome. Tell us a little bit about how things are for you.
Hi, thank you for having me. So first, you asked me where I'm from. I'm from Toronto, Canada. So I'm not too far away from RaRa. And when we first met, we had that connection that we both, or you told me you used to be in the fitness industry, right? You're a gym owner. And then right away from that, we had some common ground to connect to, because you know exactly what it's like. You know what the grind's like. You know what it's like coaching people. So right there and then, yeah, I think we for sure connected. So yeah.
Okay, and we did this through, I'll just put a little background so we weren't like at, on the corner or anything. We're at a business networking, so we're both members of BNI. Dr. Ivan Meisner is the founder of Business Networking International, and Henry and I are both members. So we happen to be in the same city and we are in the same chapter. So the terminology for BNI is, I guess we should tell our chapter's name, Henry, right? Because that'll really bring us right down to the Torontonian the geography. So I'll let you share what our chapter is called.
Yeah, so our chapter's name is Hogtown Hustlers.
Okay, what's a Hogtown Hustler? I'm from a girl from New York.
I love it.
Yeah, that's a
great name.
Terminology for Toronto, right? So Henry, you're the personal trainer of our group, but you're a friend to so many people. What is it like when people meet you? Do they do what, want to sit up straight? Do they suck in their abs? Do they flex their biceps? What is it with people like when they meet you? What do you feel? How does it feel for you? Like, do they try to put their best show on?
They do. You know what? I get that a lot. I'm sure you know exactly what it's like. Because usually when someone talks to me, they're looking for like some sort of help or something. And then they want to present like themselves. Okay, well, I got everything down, but I don't know what's going wrong. And then it's until they get to feel comfortable with you when they'll reveal like the truth and what's really going on, right? So for me, my objective, especially when I meet with people, is just be real, be genuine, and try to make people comfortable. Because if they see that I'm not just a personal trainer, I'm a human being, and yes, I'm not perfect either. We find common ground, and then we're able to connect further, right? So yeah, so I think it's all about just like showing people that you're human too. Don't judge me for being a personal trainer. Yeah.
So when people meet you right after, if they're in the scenario of you being in the gym or in a fitness center, that's great. But if not, the next time you see them, they have to wear those stretchy clothes, and they have to either decide to put a t-shirt to cover what they don't want you to see, or they don't cover it and then you see it and then you have to work on it with them. So tell us a little bit about, from a personal trainer's perspective, when you are, I won't say the first meeting, like in a social scenario, but when you're with them in your place of business, whether it's their gym,
Okay.
Tell me a little bit about what goes on in your head. How do you start to make some assessments? Is it in your head? Do you use any type of system or program? Would you like to share that with us?
Yeah, sure. So I have like my own like assessment protocol that I do. I do like movement screens and like the body composition tests, so like height, weight, circumference. Before I get to that, like I said before, what I like to do is I like to just get to know where they're coming from and get to know who they are, right? Just by talking to them, and I find by asking the right questions, that will just spill everything out. And then from that, I just pay attention to a lot of things: body language, how they say things when I ask them what they want what they want to achieve, if they've ever achieved that before. Maybe bring up feelings like how will you feel once you achieve that, and I just pay attention to their body language and how they respond, and that gives me an idea of like what's really going on, if there's something deeper, or if that's it.
Right. You said something very important. You said you asked them if they've ever achieved it before. If someone says, I want a six-pack and I want it in like 8 weeks, and, you know, I've just never even had one other than in my fridge before, then you might know it's not a realistic goal. So now with Fitbits and, you know, Apple Watches and things that people can do, does the average person come into you clueless, or do they come in informed? You know, when I was in this business, I don't even want to tell you how many years ago, it was a little bit different. So what does the average person walk into? Do they know their BMI when they walk in? Do they know their heart rate, their target heart rate? Do they know their blood pressure? Do they know this, or do you have to make them aware of it?
They usually have no idea. And here's the thing: you say BMI, most people would be confused. And to be honest, BMI is it's not an accurate measurement for anything. It's not. So I don't like to say BMI.
And not BN, not BNI, by the way. We're not talking about right.
Yeah. So you said something before. You said, so when someone says they want a six-pack, I asked them, have they ever achieved it before? They say no, and they want it in 8 weeks. Actually, what I find almost the opposite. I find people, so let's say 20 years ago, when they were in their college days, they were very active. They had abs. They're eating right, and they're working out 5-6 times a week. And what I find what's really common is they like to compare themselves now. So let's say 20, 30 years later, they want to compare themselves to the 20-year-old self they used to be. And that's like the expectation of what they have, right? So what I have to do is I have to filter that, because there's a lot of things have changed since you're 20. Your body's not the same. You don't have the same hormones. You don't have the same, body and bones and joints. So I really have to make everybody aware of that and where they currently are, right? And to give them like realistic expectations.
Right. So how do you do that? Is this something that someone needs to be in? And sorry to just focus on this. We'll talk a little bit more. I just wanted to get some of these questions out there. So does someone need to see you every day? Do they need to talk to you every day? Do they need to tell you when they sleep, when they eat? How up close and personal does someone have to get with you to achieve results?
Yeah, fairly. I would say fairly close. You have to definitely keep close communication. It depends on what you work on. So how I do it is I work from the initial assessment. So I would spend maybe an hour and a half asking these deep questions. I just try to connect the dots, right? So I ask important questions like, are you sleeping? Because sleeping is very, very, very important. And yes, it's important that you have a good diet, but I personally think sleeping is more important and it'll give you more results than any diet you could think of. Right. Okay, so are you sleeping? What are you eating? What are your eating habits? Activity level? What else? Yeah, I think that's about it. And then maybe a little bit on perspective. I find your perspective, how you view the world, is a huge game changer, right? Because there are some people that, let's say, I like to call this the growth mindset. I'm sure you've heard of that term before, where when you encounter problems or when you encounter failures, instead of seeing it a problem or something that's going to hold you back, you see it as an opportunity, right? An opportunity to grow, an opportunity to learn, an opportunity to go forward, right? As for other people, may see that same thing as the complete opposite, right? So another thing I do on top of all that, what I just said, is try to get an idea of what their daily perspective is on their day-to-day basis.
Right. That's important stuff, Henry. And it sounds like you do really need to have good open communication and people who are willing to open to you. And I know that you achieved that. How did you get to this part, this place in your life? I'm going to ask you about someone, or a gratitude story in your life. But before I do that, I'm just curious, how'd you get to be Coach Henry?
That was a long process. So So first, first it started out as, okay, high school is over. What the heck am I gonna do now? Then it was like, okay, you know what? It would be really cool if I just show people how to exercise and get paid for it. Why not? Right? Um, and then I got into, so my first job as a personal trainer was at Good Life. And I was at Good Life for about 5, 6 years. And at Good Life, I saw, working in a commercial gym, you see everything, right? So you see the staff. So I see other personal trainers. I see the personal trainers that make it, that have been there for 5 to 10 years, and at a place or in a gym, for a personal trainer to stay for longer than a year or two is, it says a lot about them, right? So I've also seen dozens of personal trainers leave. So I got to see and witness of like what it takes to be a good personal trainer and what it takes to not be a good personal trainer, lose interest, and go find a different career. Yeah, but I've had a lot of managers in the past that pushed me, that wanted me to do well. I'm grateful for that. For everything that they've taught me.
Is,
Yeah,
sorry. Yeah, sorry.
yeah.
Is there anyone in your life that did something that like I know the answer is someone, had to be someone, but is there someone that impacted you and something that you'd be willing to share with us? Like just something that happened, moment in your life that you knew it was going to be different from that moment on?
Yeah, I probably had quite a few of those moments. So, um, like I deal with it on a daily basis, like with clients, right? Is when I see the results, when a client tells me, he's like, "Oh my God, Henry, I cannot believe um, where I was a year ago, and if I never would have met you, there's no way I don't even know where I'd be right now, right?" I know that's one client I'm thinking of. Um, he went down like he was like a 38 and he went down to a 32, and that it was like he's been overweight his whole life, and it's been his dream to wear skinny jeans, right? And I helped him wear skinny jeans. I helped him get there, and that felt so rewarding to see just like how his life has changed, to see how he's active, to see how confident he is, um, just from that. So.
Good point. How confident someone is. So you do a lot of amazing work, and that's you thinking about others first. That's what you do. You didn't even think about yourself. You think about how the work that you do for other people. I'm going to ask. I know Laurie has questions for you because we're just so excited that you're on the show. Laurie, do you have anything that you'd like to ask Henry, or 100 things that you'd like to ask Henry?
Okay, yeah. So the first one is that so you're going to teach me how I can run flips through the yard just like I did when I was a cheerleader in high school, right?
If that's what you want.
So I just had to comment on that because when you brought up the high school thing, and I thought, yeah, did some pretty cool things as a cheerleader. So, but I don't know if I can do those still. So, one question I have is I always love to focus my questions, of course, on gratitude. So you said a little bit about that, but I would like to ask you, like, what's one thing in your life or business that it doesn't have to be like what Kathryn said, there's lots of people and things that have helped you to get you to where you are, but what's one thing that you're truly grateful for that has helped you move forward, whether it's personal or business wise?
Family. Yeah, so having that support, because sometimes like, yeah, I'm around other people a lot and I have friends, but sometimes it's easy to just like feel like no one's really supporting you, and so my family have supported me. So what happened was I used to work at Good Life in London, Ontario, and I've always wanted to move to Toronto, right? Um, my manager didn't want me to leave, right? Because like I did a lot for a club. I did a lot of like um, I ran lots of development meetings for other trainers. I was really good to members, even the members that didn't get personal training, just like the regulars. I did a lot for like the club. So who wants a person like that to go, right? So my brother, he took me. He gave me this opportunity. Here's the reason why I'm in Toronto right now and living my dream and chasing after it, right? Because he called me one day. He's like, Henry, I know you've always wanted to go to Toronto, and this is your chance to do it. One of my roommates is leaving. Do you want to take this chance and come? So I was like, yeah, I think I'm gonna do that. So it was a little hard of a transition to just um, to move cities, to like move away from friends, from the place I've been at for 5 years. But if it wasn't for my brother, I wouldn't be here right now. So I'm very grateful for that.
That's awesome. That's awesome. That's really, really great, Henry. You, I'm sure, have inspired and do inspire people to think about something, and then the opportunity arises, and then to act on it. And we're really glad you're here. I'm really glad that you're here in Toronto. I always like to take a point in the show and pass it over to you. So you're a natural born leader. You know what it's like to take charge. I'd like Laurie and I would both like to pass the show over to you and ask a question that you would like to have an answer to. And we're happy to, unrehearsed, give you that answer.
Sure. So I did a little bit of reading. I went to the book launch with you, and I got that book on relationship marketing, and I was doing a little bit of reading on that. So I love the whole philosophy of giving, of just give what you can to people and don't expect anything in return. And in the end, it'll all come back to you, whatever, right? So one question for you ladies is how do you give? So for myself, let's say I'm a personal trainer, right? And maybe not everybody wants like workouts or advice, or maybe they'll find me annoying talking about exercise and nutrition. But like, what can I give people to help them or whatever? How do you give? That's my question.
Thank you for your question. Laurie, I want to, without turning around, Henry's talking about the power of human connection. And Laurie, I'm going to let Laurie go first because Laurie's in the book. So you're going to hear it from Laurie first. And thank you so much for that question. So go right ahead, Laurie. I would like to go right after you because you certainly need the floor.
All right, thank you. Yes, so very blessed and honored to be one of the featured stories in that book. That was so exciting that Cody asked me to have a partake in that. So, and yes, I do lots of ways of giving. I've always believed, I was raised in a super wonderful household where that was taught. And I came from a very positive and optimistic background. So that was a wonderful environment for me. And so, and I've raised my children to be that way. So one way of giving, of course, is monetary, church, tithing, charities, things like that. Another way is I do a lot of volunteer work. So I try to do usually 1 to 2 at least things volunteering a month. And so this coming Friday night, I'm the keynote speaker at an event that I'm giving my time and energy for, and it's on uterine cancer. And so my mother passed away of uterine cancer almost 3 years ago. And so this is the first time that I'm speaking on that subject. And I pretty much moved into my parents' couch for the first 6 months of my mom's life. And so, and took care of her. And so I give homes to lots of animals. So I'm I've rescued about 100 cats. So, but, and then also I give a lot of, I do personal coaching and life and business coaching. I've been a certified coach for almost 10 years. And so, and sometimes I do, you know, a lot of people pay me for that. And then sometimes I do things where I give of myself. I see a potential in somebody who can't afford it, or, you know, something like that. And I just see that potential in them. And so I decide to give of myself for that as well. So those are just a couple of the ways.
Awesome. Henry, thank you, Laurie, for sharing that. Henry, can you just repose that question again? Because I was getting lost in what Laurie was saying, thinking about all the awesome things she does. I know the question, but can you just reiterate it for me?
Yeah, sure. What are some different ways that you like to give?
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. And Laurie, it's hard to go after you, right? So the first part I was thinking you were talking about, or how, yeah, like how do we do it? So one of the things I want to talk about is my gut feeling, like my intuition. I truly, truly use my intuition. I do believe in service above self. I'm a Rotarian. I do believe in giving back to the community. But I know at the end of the day, when I close my eyes, I have to feel, or open my eyes at the beginning of the day, does this feel right? And sometimes there are things that come at me one after the other, and they're opportunities to give to someone. And I think this must be a sign. It must be something that I am here to do, because it feels like this is what I need to do. And to that person on the other end, I have no idea what it feels like for them. It might feel like I'm stalking them. Like, oh my gosh, what does that feel like? But I am an intuitive thinker. I'm an intuitive leader. I'm an intuitive person, period. And someone asked me a question today. They're like, why did you do that? And I said, because I felt like it. And they said, for 16 years? I'm like, yeah, I felt like it was the right thing to do. So how? I believe that we could give our time to people. When you have experience like you do, and then decades of experience, because you know my age. So when you have that, you do collect a bunch of different tools in your toolbox, and you know that you can disperse that at different times, especially if you have a skill for it. So I believe we can give people our time. We can give people guidance. I believe a very important way to do that is to feel. If there is no feeling behind the giving, I'm not saying it doesn't feel good to get a check if somebody just threw a check at a cause, but to have a check or money at a cause without the people behind the cause, it may not live for very long. So I believe that the spirit of giving is as important as whatever someone gives. I remember having my private practice, and I would pick 1 to 2 families a year who didn't have the finances, 1 to 2 families a year where I chose to give them regardless of their finances. And the people who were able to afford to pay me and I wouldn't take their money would bring me like Thanksgiving dinner. They would bring things to me to try to show their gratitude, and they did, because money was not the currency for that. So sometimes the thing that we can give someone is a very simple act of nurturing their body or their mind or food or 10 minutes or taking, I believe we can take people away from their current problems, obviously by working with the psychology and behavior modification. And like you do, Henry, we can help people to transform, the gift of transformation, taking someone from the place that they're at to the place that they truly want to go, maybe don't know how. You know, there's 2 cars and 2 sets of keys, and someone might be afraid to get in the Ferrari, and someone, you know, might be afraid to get into the car that's not automatic. Or so there's reasons why people make choices. So I believe when we take this intuition and we truly apply it and work with it, you know, the power of human connection and the power of building relationships is far a superior gift than anything else. I was reading about Richard Branson, and I'm sure you'll see it. He talks about, you know, put the kettle on, have a conversation with someone. And this is so hopefully I answered your question to your satisfaction. I'd like to say, you know, intuition, using our gut and giving people truly what they don't expect, if you have the gift for it.
Beautiful. No, that was a great answer, and pretty much what I got from that is genuinely giving, right? Is like actually wanting to give, and I think people could read that too, when you actually don't want anything in return and you actually just want to give, right? So
Right.
that was great.
Right.
Thank you. Great answer.
You're welcome. Yeah, it's not like it's 10 o'clock, it's time to give someone. You know, it's not like that, right? These are feeling. It's a way of life. So it's like taking care of our bodies. It has to be something that's in us that we want to do. It's not like, oh, Henry told me to do that, and so your body gets all tight and tense. It has to come from within. So thank you for that question. It's an awesome question. I would Thank you. I'd like to ask you something, because it's about the future. You have a fantastic future ahead of you. And this may seem like, oh my gosh, you're not going to ask me where am I going to be in 5 years kind of thing. But what is a vision? Can you share with us one of the visions that you have for yourself? So I'd like to just take a step and say, you know, you had an opportunity that was proposed to you by your brother. You took it. It was a thought you had in your head. You know, you acted on a prompting, so to speak. You are with people face to face in one of the most personal manners when they're, you know, wearing spandex or less of it and sweating and looking at their worst and their best and who knows what goes on in their mind. But where do you see yourself going with this? What is the big picture vision for Henry Hernandez?
There's a lot. Trust me, I always think about this all the time. So for one, I want to convert to a full-time online trainer. So that's just training people online. So I like this way because I don't have to be in one place. I could train anybody virtually, and then my reach, instead of only being able to take 15 clients and being maxed out and working too much, I could take on a lot more than that. So what I like to do is I just like to just extend my reach. Number 2 is build communities. That's what I really want to do. And that's what I'm trying to do at my studio is create like a good community there, right? Because I think that's what people need. The success rate of let's say this community of exercise being a trend, of people being in this community is like very high. So if like people get into this community or communities that I've built, because I'm gaining experience, they're more likely to succeed with exercise for the rest of their lives, because I just introduce them to a bunch of people that are doing the same thing. Because I find one of the biggest struggles that I find with sometimes myself and sometimes other people is sometimes you're the only one eating well or you're the only one exercising. But if you're in contact and you're a part of a community of other people that are like-minded, you really have no limit. So yeah, so that's what I want to do.
So true, Henry. So true. Everything you said is so true on so many levels. I certainly am so excited to be part of your journey with you, and I'm really thrilled that you're here on Gratitude Girls. If you were going to give some one sentence, one thought process to anybody who's going to watch the show, and whether it's tonight or a replay, what word of advice would you give to them in order to take charge or step into their health and their fitness, in case they're not into it? Or even if they are, there's always another level.
Okay, so one piece of advice would be small steps, one thing at a time. Because often when everybody wants to start something, usually what happens is they want to change everything, right? So diet, they want exercise, they want to get 10,000 steps, they want to drink water, they want to get sleep, right? It works for a little bit, and then everything drops off because it's just too overwhelming. So my advice is just pick one thing that you feel like would make the biggest improvement. So whether that be sleeping 7 hours because you only sleep 4, or eating vegetables because you don't eat any, or drinking 2 liters of water because you don't really drink water, right? Picking one thing, sticking to it, getting good at it, and then moving on to the next thing.
Awesome. Great advice, Henry. Henry, I'm so excited again that you're here with us. And when you have all your online, whatever you're going to be doing, let us know. Let us know about that, because people can be anywhere in the world, right? They don't have to be in Toronto to do this with you. So your reach has just grown as of right now to Columbia, Tennessee. And further, and much further. Well, I'm looking at the clock, Laurie. I don't like to be the timekeeper, but I do know that it is something that we need to respect for our audience. Henry, it's been great having you here with us. And yes, I do feel like I need to sit up and kind of suck in my abs, because Henry's a coach. So let's sit up and give it our best. But I love your advice about sleeping. I love your advice about baby steps. Do one thing, get really good at it. I think that's awesome. Now, if our audience wants to get in touch with you, and I know you write blogs and people should know all about this. So give us some of the detail on how people can get with you, please.
Yeah, so the easiest way would probably be add me on Facebook. You could message me on Facebook. I'll, for the most part, post on what's going on in my life, and then you can connect with me that way. And then you could find my website through my Facebook. So add me on Facebook.
Okay, Henry Hernandez, Hernandez. Did I spell that right? Henry, Henry, Hernandez. You know how to spell that, right, everybody? And you can catch all the information. Laurie's going to post it. So we'll catch you on Facebook, and you're probably on LinkedIn, and I'm sure you're on Instagram as well. So we'll connect with you there. We'll follow you. We'll watch you, and we will be part of your community. So I thank you for being part of our community. And Laurie, what an awesome, I felt like we should be doing some exercises or do a deep breathing, something. Like, I feel like we should do something. What's your favorite exercise, Henry?
Deadlifts.
Oh, okay. Straight leg deadlifts?
Love deadlifts. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
All of it.
That's your favorite one?
That's my favorite.
Okay, well, we're going to have to know a little bit more about some of your favorite exercises. Maybe you can blog about that for us. Coach Henry's favorite exercises. Okay, thank you. Thank you again. Laurie, this is amazing. I feel lighter already. I think I released some pounds just thinking about this, because now that I know it's only baby steps, I don't have to worry so much. The plan just got more digestible. It's like, oh, okay, I'll drink more water. Henry said that's a step. Super. Success. I'm so close to success, I can taste it. So thank you. Thank you, Henry, for that vote of confidence and for instilling hope and inspiring us. Laurie, what if somebody's watching our show and they say, wait a minute, I want to be Henry. I want to get on the Gratitude Girls show. what do they have to do to get with us?
Yeah, absolutely. We are always looking for neat and wonderful stories, especially gratitude stories, right? So go to our Facebook page, www.facebook.com/gratitudegirls, and send us a message right there. It comes to both Kathryn and I, and we read them, we go over them, then we contact you and set up a schedule to find out when we can feature you on our next show. So we're so blessed. We get so many stories in that we are booked out way months and ahead of time, even into next year already. So make sure if you want to get out and share your story with the world, get on our page and send us a message.
Yes, and Laurie, when I started the show, I did not say RaRa is in the house. I'm not going to let a show go by without saying that. So thank you to everyone for being here with us. Laurie, it's amazing to be here with you. And maybe we should do an exercise bit. We should talk to Henry after the show. Henry, don't leave us. Don't leave us. We have a couple of questions for you to go after we get off the show here. So yes, thank you to our audience. We couldn't do this without you. And please keep sending your ideas and your questions and your stories to us. We truly love it. And next year is certainly, we're booking into next year. So don't hesitate. Get with us now so we can feature you. Henry, thank you. You're awesome. And I'm sitting up straight. I must look much thinner now. So thank you.
Yes, and tune back in with us the 4th Tuesday night every single month, 9:30 Eastern, 8:30 Central, 7:30 Mountain, and 6:30 Pacific. See you next month.
Ciao.